Hi Flosstube, I hope all's well. My name is Kirsty, Crafting Kirsty here on YouTube and on Instagram. It is Monday the 10th of October 22 and this is Flosstube number 16, take 2. So this is a video about cross stitching and what progress I've made on my whips in the last couple of months. I am nearly, well, I think actually the last time I filmed a proper Flosstube was in June. I then did a whip parade in August. So yeah, I'm a little bit out of sync at the moment, but anyway, I hope to be back to a more regular filming soon. We've had a holiday in Cornwall, lovely weather, lovely beaches, great time. The twins have had their A-level results. They both did fantastically and have got into the universities that they wanted to go to. So our daughter went in the middle of September and our son went last weekend. So we are now empty nesters, which feels quite strange. I'm sure we'll get used to it. And they'll be back at Christmas time. Well, I'm sure they'll be back before then, but yeah, you know, they'll all be back at Christmas. We have obviously lost a queen, but gained a king. So that took up a couple of weeks. And last weekend, this weekend literally just gone, I went to a cross stitch retreat. It was organised by a lady called Sammy Sharp and Andrea Bowen. There's a Facebook group called Floss Friends UK, and they held a retreat at the West Retford Hotel, which is in Retford, which is just off the A1, about an hour north of Peterborough. It was for the weekend. I only went for the Saturday. I actually wouldn't have known about it if it hadn't been for Lauren of Flossabilities, who contacted me and said, did you know where you're going to go, blah, blah, blah. So I went on the Saturday. I met Lauren. I met her mother, who does exist. She's not just this Lauren's alter ego on a Thursday night. So it was lovely to meet those two ladies. On our table we also had Emma X Stitching and Beth Chadwick, those two younger ladies that cross stitch and do floss tubes. I sat next to Michaela, who I had previously met at the Essex Needles retreat. There's a lady called Vicky to my right, who actually had a lovely Greek name that I'm not even going to try to attempt to pronounce. And then we were joined by two ladies at lunchtime. I think it took them a lot longer to get to us than they'd realised. Lit's to Stitch, which is Licia, and her friend Karen. And I actually follow Licia, which I hadn't realised, on Instagram at the time. We sort of did the whole, oh, who are you? Realised we followed each other. And she bought a whole load of fabulous finished samplers that were just absolutely stunning to look at. And her friend Karen is very new to stitching, so she bought her first project, which is still quite a big one. I thought it was a modern folk embroidery, but it's not, but it's one of those sort of similar Quaker style pieces. So yeah, you know, she's dived in at the deep end, but it was lovely to meet those two ladies. Who else was there? We had Lizzie of this Mrs. Fisher Stitches. So I had a chat with her because her daughter has also just recently gone off to university. Bernie of Hooking and Stitching was there, so it was lovely to catch up with her, and I think I'll be seeing her again in November. There was Danielle, the Cardiff Stitcher, met her. There's the Diddy Stitcher, very briefly sort of recognised her from across the room. Nicola of Simply in Stitches was also there, and finally met Catherine, who is Coco Cross Stitcher. Now, Catherine used to have a Flosstube channel, and I enjoyed watching because she also does quilting and a few other crafts as well. And she's quite active on Facebook, actually. She's also in another Facebook group that I'm in. So it was lovely to meet her, particularly because this summertime, wherever we've been, Catherine then pops up a week later and sort of is on Instagram going, oh, look, I'm here now. So we were laughing away about the fact we've been chasing each other around the country. So it was lovely to meet her and have a good chat. And I was trying to convince her to record another Flosstube. So we shall see. I think that's it. If I haven't mentioned someone, I'm really, really sorry. I had a good wander around, looked at all the tables, looked at all the projects, lots of stunning different projects, lots of lovely ladies chatting away. It was a really, really well run, nice, friendly event. I have to say, I thought Sammy and Andrea did a fantastic job. We had little goodie bags when we arrived. We could choose, they were themed, and I chose an autumn one. And there was some sweets and chocolate, which, surprise, surprise, have gone. And then you got some, and these are, oh, so sorry, Sammy Sharp, one of the ladies who organised the event, is Lizzie Little Loop Stitching on Instagram. And she also has an Etsy store. And in our sort of welcome packs, welcome bags, she had put a few things. So we've got some lovely stickers. I haven't taken these out because I'll just lose them if I take them out straight away. Some gorgeous, gorgeous floss drops. It's upside down, but yeah. And then these lovely little charms, which I suppose you can put on pillows and things. So they're absolutely lovely. So she very kindly put those into the packs. They're obviously from her shop. She also has patterns and various other things. At one point I was a bit confused because I didn't realise who this had come from, and I've eventually managed to work it out because I actually read the packet. So Megan of Coffee Craft Fabrics, now she's the lady who I ordered, or her, yeah, it was her fabric that I used on my big Sleepy Hollow piece that she sort of specifically hand dyed for me. Yeah, lovely fabrics. She now does fabric of the month, floss of the month, all the rest of it. Hopefully I will see her, get to meet her this weekend. But she very kindly donated a skein of floss for everybody. So I picked up, it was a lucky dip bag. I pulled out this colour. So thank you very much, Megan. That was great. And then the smalls exchange. I'll show you a picture of my small in a minute. But you put everything into a box. You weren't supposed to label it really. I just put Prim Autumn on mine so that it was supposed to be autumnal, Halloween, seasonal. Anyway, so I went to grab a bag, and in the bag it actually had a little label on it. And I realised that it was Mama Flossability. So Lauren's mum had done this small. So I picked it up and I absolutely love it. I think it's fantastic. So this is the little pillow that she made. The little button for the spider and the orange Rick Rack. Okay, don't look at the Rick Rack, don't look at the Rick Rack. Rick Rack's fine, it looks fine. And this is the back. So it's all very exciting. So because there were some people going on Saturday, some people were only going on Sunday, and then there were obviously those people that were attending for the whole weekend. So they asked the people that were only there for the Saturday to go and pick out of the box first. And so that's what's happened. And so as I said, I picked up Mama Flossability's little small. It's fantastic. It will go in my Halloween pillow display when I get it out, probably, in December, because I'm a bit behind with things like that. And then I actually made, so I have taken some photos. Excuse me whilst I just find them. I actually this small, which I couldn't believe it because I've just watched Christy of Daisy K Primitives, and she's made exactly the same small, and hers looks so much better. And I was just like, oh, that's what I wanted mine to look like. But anyway, I downloaded a chart from Country Rustic Primitives on Etsy, and I did this small autumn. So it was a tea coffee dyed piece of 25 count linen that I had, or a fabric that I had. I chose my own flosses, but sort of as close to the called for as possible. And then you can see the charms in the corner there. That one has got an acorn and a pumpkin. They've fallen over the back a bit really, pinned into the corner. And I got those from Contented Cats with a Z, off of Etsy. Again, she had a huge supply of sort of silver charms, lots of lovely different ones. I've got another couple of packets for a small I'm making for this weekend. Really, really quick service, really, really good prices. Yeah, I was very happy with that. And then this is my back, and I'm so cross because I messed the back up. Admittedly, I went to the retreat on the Saturday, and I was finishing this pillow at 9:30 on Friday night because there's nothing like being prepared and organised. And I was really pleased on the back I'd used this sort of brown and yellowy fabric, and it looked really, really good. And for some reason, instead of not doing the seam and doing an invisible seam at the end, I decided I would do it this way. And then the cut got bigger and bigger and bigger, and then I was struggling to close it up. And then I thought, well, I'll put a piece of fabric over the top of it, the similar fabric that I'd had on the front. Is that going to twist? Oh yeah, sorry. So similar to that fabric, but it just wasn't going to. Anyway, I said, please don't look at the back, because I think Danielle Cardiff Stitcher picked my small. So I did apologise. I said, just don't look at the back. But yeah, if you want to see how it's, how I would like to have done it, watch Christy of Daisy Gay Primitives, because she's managed to, yeah, hers looks really, really good. Sorry, I'm just going to flick back through this because I've taken photos so I can show you my progress, because I don't do editing, because it's a faff and it never works, basically. So I think that's about all I have to say about the retreat. I think there are another 2 planned for next year. I think there's only a few places left. I think there's one in May, one in November. As I said, Sammy Sharp of Lizzie Little Loops Stitching, or Andrea Bowen of the Curly Cross Stitcher. Go to them on Instagram and follow it through, and you'll get, you'll find out what you need to know. I think, again, it's at West Retford in this hotel, really easy access, lovely hotel. So yeah, all was good. So I hope I've remembered everyone to talk about. I hope I've remembered everything I need to say. So we're going to get on with whips. I have a lot of whips to show you. As I said, this is my second time of filming, because I managed to muck up the first time. Everything was neatly ironed, pressed, sorted. Less so now, and we'll essentially be working backwards. Not that it was in chronological order anyway. If I can remember why I started it, or if there was a specific reason that I worked on it, I will tell you. Yeah, let's just get on with whips, shall we? Really, I can't think of anything else to say. So, first one I'm going to show you is Hare's Autumn from Plum Street Sampler, or Samplers, sorry. And I obviously just picked this up because it's autumn time, and I think I've bought the majority of these hare charts now. I really, really like them. I've only done one so far, which was the spring one, which was tulips. And this is, I think this is 32 count something, and that's as far as I've got. It was just a quick sort of one evening. I'll get this started. Then during September, I pulled out a lot of my reproduction and samplers to work on to fit in with the hashtags. This one I'm going to show you is basically with the big reproduction samplers. They're all quite large, and I've only had a very small start on all of them. And my aim was just to spend a week and try and get the border completed with regards to actually just structural foundation. So this is one of the ones I worked on. So this is Dutch Beauty. This is my second start, and it might not be my last start with this chart. So I started this initially on a fabric I dyed 25 count over one. Really struggled with another project that I was doing over one on 25 count, and just thought there's no way I can complete that one. So I adopted that whip out, or fostered that whip out. Penelope took it off my hands actually, and I thought, okay, I'm going to put my big girl pants on because it's such a big sampler. I need to go for a higher count, so I went for 40, and I've just done 40 count white Zweigart. Still struggling to see it. Still struggling to see it. So the last time you saw this, it was, is that it? Yes. Last time, oh no, that's my scenic views the wrong way. Oh, lots of them. Have I now lost my, there we go. So the last time I'd literally done one corner and a top half. I have now, and you can tell that I'm struggling on this because this is the only one that I haven't actually finished the entire border on. So let's just get it up, let's have a look. So all the border is done apart from that little corner. I wear contact lenses. I cannot see this with my contact lenses in. So if I want to work on it during the day, I have to put readers on. I bought a cheap pair of readers. It's fine. makes me feel a little bit ill after a while. And I can see it with my glasses on, which I tend to take my contacts out first thing in the evening, wear my glasses for the rest of the night. But I am just struggling on it a bit, and I do wonder if I need to just go down to either 32 or 36, which would obviously be my third start. But at the moment I'm watching Nicole's needlework. I'm watching her sort of back catalogue of videos that I haven't seen because I've only been watching her for a couple of years. And there's one chart, I think it's His Eyes on the Sparrow, the Beth Twist chart, and she's restarted it 5 times. And she started it, did a bit, sold that piece, and then bought it back a couple of months later because she decided that was actually the fabric she did want to use. So I don't feel at all worried about the fact that I could be starting that for the 3rd time. And I think, well, rather than frog all of that on 40 count, I might well see if I don't want to work on it, if somebody wants to adopt it from me. But I might pick it up next time and suddenly get into the rhythm of it. We'll see. We'll see. So the next piece I have to show you is the classic Christmas pudding. Now this is out of the World of Cross Stitching magazine, and I can't remember which issue it is because the cover's actually fallen off it. It's in a plastic bag over there. So this piece is now my away holiday travelling piece, because I've finally learnt that actually, you know, hotel rooms are not set up for cross stitching. You can't see well enough, and so I need to take something that's on a big account, basically. Sorry. So this is where it was during my whip parade. So I got most of the border but not the back stitching done, and then a few pieces to try and get a bit of something to count from, and here we are now. So I'm really pleased with how much progress I've made. As I said, there is a lot of back stitching, so I've actually back stitched around both sides of the entire border, which obviously isn't particularly noticeable to you, but you know, still took a bit of time for me. So yes, I was sitting on the beach in the sunshine, stitching on this in Cornwall, having a lovely time. So I'm pleased with that. So that will just continue to be my travel piece until it's finished. So the next piece that I pulled out is, here we go, is Antrim's Folly. So this is Heartsease Exemplar Works, Antrim's Folly, a Burlington County inspiration, an original needlework design by Teresa M. Bard. And this is an original design based off of a sampler that went for an absolute fortune, however many years ago. Love, love, love this piece. Struggling with all the speciality stitches, so I'm just not doing them. I'm just going to do the cross stitch, unless it's a stitch I can do. I'm doing the satin stitch and various other ones, but some of them I've been really struggling on, and I've just decided to call it quits and do the cross stitch. So when I last showed it to you during my whip parade, this was where I was. So I'd done satin stitches at the bottom. It was this black box that was causing me all the problem. And then I'd worked my way up one side. So again, in the theme of structural foundations, I've carried on. I took the black box out. That took an evening, just a frog. I've restitched it. Ooh, sorry, I can't divvy up. I was all organised before and now I'm not. So this is where I've got to now, which probably doesn't look very much. But I have essentially worked my way, piece, up to, and I've done the outline of this lawn in front of the house. It's a case of, because there's not a proper border that goes the entire way round, it was a case of sort of working your way up and across, trying to find the thing that went highest, you know, so there was least counting to jump up to the next level. So that's what I've done, and I know that it will now fit, this top half will fit because there's very little to count from here. So I would just have to just work the top half as a piece and then put the satin stitches in at the top. But yeah, I do enjoy working this. This is 27 count Linda. You know, it's very easy to stitch on. It's a big piece. I want to enjoy stitching it. So that's why I use the bigger count of fabric. The next piece I have to show is, is Maria Juanaria, 1833 to 34, an accurate reproduction of a Portuguese sampler held in the Queenstown Sampler Collection. So this is a big, big piece. Now I started this on my birthday this year. Ellie Welly Stitcher and Stitchy Rach joined me. I think Janet Dodd also joined me, but she used a different chart. I think she used the Plantation Sampler chart. And this is being done under the hashtag Wonky Donkey B-Day Sal 22. So again, when you last saw this, I had got this amount done. So I'd worked, again, I always tend to start top right hand corner as I'm looking at it and try to work my way across and down, so that then I can cut the piece of fabric down, or I can doubly check that it is all going to fit. So I'd literally just done a corner. I have now managed to work this round. Again, you know, you can see it literally the very bare minimum of the border, just to make sure it all meets up correctly and it all fits onto the piece. Although I did actually cut this fabric this morning, all fitted onto the fabric as I wanted it to do. Is it that one that has, I don't know if this, no, this one doesn't have the mistake, but you wouldn't really know even if it did, to be honest with you, on the border, because it's fairly loosey-goosey. So that's fine. This is on 36 count Zweigart. Now I can see this quite easily with my glasses on, not so easily with my contact lenses again. But I can stitch that one in hand. I find the 40 count for the Dutch Beauty I have to put into a hoop, and that then slows me down. Not that I'm particularly fast anyway, but it's just, yeah, it's a little bit frustrating. We shall see. I can feel myself talking myself into restarting it already. So the next piece I'm going to show you is the black vintage sampler from Al Forest Embroidery. So I started this with Elaine, Ellie Welly Stitcher, last, I think it might have been November, or it could have been December, I can't remember quite when we started it. And we don't really have a sal for it, it's just we started it. Chose a date and started it. And the last time you saw this, I had just literally again started in a corner, starting to go across and down. Now I'm not doing this in black. I've chosen 3 or 4 shades of, sorry, I've just lost all my photos again now. Oh, for goodness sake. Right, there we go. 3 or 4 shades of brown, and I'm just sort of picking what to put where as I work it. I am doing this, I think this must be a 32 count piece of linen, and it's either from Northumberland Sampler House or Foxglove and Lace. Whichever it is, it's lovely to work on. So as you can see, I've taken this, I think I've taken that side down a bit more, but I've put the balloon, lamp, bat, that's a thistle. It's actually showing up better on the screen than it does in real life at bird. And I've started this house. So this house, when you look at it, when you look at the roof and things, you think, oh lordy, that's going to be a lot of counting and quite hard work. But actually, I'm only using one thread, and it hides very nicely behind this fabric. So I'm literally just doing 10 to stitch across and coming back again. So again, really enjoyed working on that. Stitched up quite quickly. Yeah, all is good. So my next piece, now this was a new start. I started this with Stitchy Rach at the beginning of September for her birthday. So she showed this pattern a couple of months ago on her Flosstube, and I said, oh, I've always loved that chart. Why don't we start it for your birthday? Excuse me. So I convinced her to start it, and then I thought, well, I better buy the chart now. So I bought the chart and started at the beginning of September. This is With Thy Needle 2 from Leela's Studio. It's quite a beast. Well, it's very long. It's not actually that high. It's very long. Flowers, plants and fishes, beasts, birds, flies and bees, hills, dales, plains, pastures, skies, seas, rivers, trees. There's nothing near at hand or farthest sought, but with the needle may be shaped and wrought. So, brace yourself, Rachel, because I really enjoyed working on this. So I'm using 30 count Access Commodities, which is a piece I picked up, I think, from the Patchwork Rabbit when I went there in May. Really, really, really like the fabric. It's fabulous fabric. And I'm using all the called for flosses, which are all the overdyed. I think most of them are classic Colourworks with a Gentle Arts thrown in, possibly. Can't remember now, they're over there anyway. But yeah, so they're lovely colours. I don't normally use overdyes, and I have to say I'm not seeing a huge amount of variation, but they are lovely, rich colours anyway. So I have got one border complete. This square, now there are 4 of these, and I had initially thought I'll just go across and put all 4 of them in. And I made such a mess with this one, I had to frog it 2 or 3 times. So I thought, no, I'll just do it as I go along, it'll be easier. So I did a bit of blue because I had time to fill in. Come down, done the alphabet, butterfly, star, and started along the border at the bottom. I was just picking a colour and following it. But I'm absolutely loving, I loved working on this. I've put it down now, but I did love working on this, and this border is just fantastic. It's quite blocky, so it's stitching up reasonably quickly because it's quite blocky colours. As I said, not huge amounts of variation. I'd hope, you'd think you'd want to see more in the red of the birds and things, but yeah. Loving it. Loving it, loving it, loving it. Next piece that I picked up is from Reflet de Soie, Eloise Cornu, 1896. Now that's how I'm pronouncing it. Pronounce it as you feel free. I started to put a thread a day into this. I actually ended up putting 2 or 3 threads a day into it, but didn't really spend more than 20 minutes, half an hour on it, because the border's quite a beast on this one, and it can get a bit hard work really. So I thought if I just do 1 or 2 threads throughout the border, and we'll see how we get on. And I was going absolutely fine until the beginning of September. And then I joined in with Kim, the Contented Stitcher, and I think there is another lady that's hosting the sale, and I'm really, really sorry because I don't know who it is. But they've started a sale in September, the Reflet de Soie sale hashtag. And so I thought I'll use this for this piece because I think a lot of them have started. One chart, and I can't remember, it's got a cow in it, not that narrows it down. But it's a lovely chart, but a lot of them have started that in September, but I thought I'll just use this one rather than start another pattern. I'll use this one. And I'm actually really, really impressed with how much progress until I ran out of thread I managed to make just doing 1 or 2 strands every day, and it made it so much easier, this border, to tackle. So this is where I got to last time. It's not ironed, obviously, as you can see. So I'd worked my way across to this side because I was beginning to panic that I was going to run out of fabric. Very nearly did run out of fabric, but by the skin of my teeth, we're still there. And this is where I've got to now. Well, considering, so I had to fill in a bit up here, and then I've gone all the way down this side, and considering I've literally just picked it up and put 1 or 2 bits in it, haven't stitched on it since the beginning of September, because I ran out of thread. This poppy patch where I get my cottage garden threads from were out of stock, and so the whole thing fell apart really at that point. But I'm quite impressed with how much I've managed for what doesn't seem like an awful lot of work. Now around about here is where I ran out of thread, and I thought, well, I've got a very nice variegated DMC that I like, that I use a lot. I wonder if it'll be close enough to go. And I sort of started with it, and I thought, yeah. And then the next morning when I went to look at it, no, it's just every now and again, it's just that bit too dark. And you really, yeah, I think there's just too much darkness in it, actually. I was about to say you can't really tell. You probably couldn't if I hadn't have pointed it out. But anyway, I'm not going to take this out. It will just be my little originality within the chart. But I have ordered a whole load more, 3 more skeins, so hopefully that'll get me around the border, because as I said, it's quite a beast, this chart. And this is being done on 36 count vellum. I think this must be, this is either Northumberland Sample House or Foxglove and Lace Linen. I can't remember, I'm so sorry. But yeah, so I'm really enjoying that. I've ended up having to put a big piece of fabric on. Look how close I am to the edge. I ended up putting a piece of fabric on it because at one point I was going to put it in a hoop. But actually, did I put it in a hoop? I can't remember now. I was going to put it in a hoop. Or maybe I was going to put it on a big frame. Oh, I can't remember now, but I didn't end up doing it. But it's got a piece of fabric on it. It is actually quite, even in hand, it's quite difficult to stitch this close to the edge. So yeah, so that's that piece. You know, when I pick it up, I will put it back into the hashtag again. And then I also picked up, so I've been working, I think actually I've only got 2 charts in my basket that I haven't worked on in the last basically 2 months. So I also picked up Tall Ship Sampler from the sample company Designs by Brenda Keys. So I started this one last December in remembrance of my father, who was a keen sailor. Love this chart. Now, when I was showing this in my whip parade, I was a bit like, because it's on 27 count Linda again, nice and easy, stitch in hand. I can see it quite happily. I was sort of thinking, oh, it's quite big stitches, and you know. So I picked it back up again, and I thought, well, I'll have another go. And if I'm not happy with it, I'm going to have to go up, change fabric. Picked it up, and I just really enjoy stitching on it. It's easy. I like stitching on it. I can see it. Quite happy with it. So I've carried on my 27 count Linda. This is where I was when you last saw it. So I had a little corner bit done, some of the alphabet, and I was starting some of these flowers underneath. I have now completed the border. You have to excuse, these were all nicely ironed, you'll have to excuse the creases. Completed the border, finished the alphabet and the sort of circles underneath the alphabet, finished all the flowers, and then I was going to start this alphabet, ran out of thread. Bit of a common theme here, so I put this chart down at this point. But I'm really pleased that I do like it. It is going to be big, not massive, but it is going to be big. And actually, the stitches don't look, yes, I mean, they are large, but it's not like they're big, sloppy, loose stitches. So quite happy with that. Looking forward to getting back to working on that at some point. Next one. Oh, next one's the beast. Here comes Kim. So it would not be Sampler September or September Sampler Soiree without the Morris Dancer from Gigi R. And there we go, right. So I bought this chart at the Essex Needles retreat this March, and we started it in May. There is myself, Elaine, Ellie Welly Stitcher, Janet Dodd, Penelope Pins, and my friend Chris, who started it as well. And we started under the hashtag GGR Morris Dancers Sal 2022. I think 4 of the 5 of us are hoping, well, we've booked to be at the Hands Across the Seas retreat next September. And we've sort of agreed that we would try and get as much done on this so that we could finish it at that retreat altogether. We're not doing it as a, you know, block of the month or a SAT or, you know, sort of particular areas. We're all just going to stitch on it, and hopefully we'll only have a few stitches left to do next September. So next year, this is going to be a real focus point piece for me because it's big. Mine's huge because, again, it's on 27 count Linda. When I showed it during my whip parade, and this is one that I actually have to photograph on the table from the top. I'd got sort of one and the bottom border done really. And I have now, again, my border has gone round. I've got fill-in to do on the border, but structurally, my piece is sound. It has, oh God, let's see my Homer Simpson slipper socks here. So yeah, the border is met up. I think there is an error, but it still seems to meet up, so I'm not going to panic too much about it. Taking a bit more of this band across the top. But ultimately, I've just worked it the whole way round. There's my border. I did doubly check, and I really don't think that my border, there's only one little corner, and I think it's like one stitch out. It's not going to affect a huge amount more. So long as I don't work off of that corner, I can't see that it's going to be too much issue. And then my final piece, I do feel like I've been talking at 90 miles an hour here. My final piece is a new start. Again, it's another autumnal chart. I think the first yellow leaf that I saw, I went to my drawer of stash and picked out a whole load of charts and kitted them up. And I was going to start them all and not worry about it. I haven't. I've started this one. And it is Plum Street Samplers, Bounty Sampler. Now, I think this is 28 count. And I bought this at the shop in Yarmouth. There's a fantastic needlework shop in Great Yarmouth. Can't remember the name of the shop off the top of my head, but if you put into Google needlework shop or cross stitch Great Yarmouth, and she has an awful lot of stuff. And so I bought this fabric, and I took this piece to the retreat to stitch on Saturday, and everyone was asking me about the fabric. It's 28 count, and I have just watched Stitching is Elementary, and she's doing a piece on a gingham piece of fabric as well. Hers is sort of grey blue, but I'm fairly sure at one point you were able to buy this from Fat Quarter Shop. So it's always worth looking, but I think if you put in gingham cross stitch fabric, you might find it somewhere. But this is 28 count. I'm actually doing this 1/2. And if you take this back, it's a little bit, but I quite like it. It's a little bit more sort of see-through, but actually I will put something behind it when I frame it anyway. And I think it sort of blocks out the colour quite strongly, so it's fine. Although I did have huge issues with the fence down there, which oh God, you really can't see it. You do struggle to see it in real life, but there's a little white picket fence. That wasn't much fun. And I've got another one to do on the other side. But there we go. We'll get it done eventually. So that's everything I've worked on since I last saw you. Well, I think actually since my whip parade. So yeah, so within the last couple of months, because I think I showed you I said what I'd worked on at the time during my whip parade. I've had a bit of stash, not huge amounts. I have had some, but I haven't pulled it all. I've just bought some to show you. That's actually a plan. I can't remember why. Cannot for the life of me remember why, but for some reason I went on to Beth Twist's website, Heartstring Samplery, and when I say I don't know why, obviously I saw a chart. I thought I really like that. I want to get that. Went to her website. So whilst I was there, I picked up a few other things, but well, 3 of the small things I picked up from her are these 3 little proverbs. Obviously I've just printed it out in black and white, but they tend to be quite browns and muted colours anyway, mainly browns from what I can remember. And I think they're originals by her because they have her name, her initials on them in 2013. So a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. You've got a friend loveth at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. And then for wisdom is better than rubles, and all desires cannot compare to her. So I quite like those, and I like the way they're all sort of, I like the way they're framed like that. I did in some part think, oh, I could just put it all on one piece of fabric and have, I might just do them individually like that. I don't know. They're not huge at all. So I bought those. I bought Christmas tea. Again, this is Nicole's needlework. I saw this on one of her whip parades. This is from Plum Street Sampler, or Samplers. Sorry, I always say that. So this is Christmas tea, and it says, come to my table and share with me warm gingerbread cookies and cranberry tea. Now I've got that kitted up. So, or certainly I bought the DMC for it. So hopefully get that stitched for Christmas. Now, at the retreat this weekend, there were a couple of ladies, and I haven't got their cards, but they seem to have a little bit of a business each, and then they had a joint venture. And so one lady was part of the Cross Stitch Guild or the Sampler Guild, and another lady seemed to have a lot of charts and patterns for sale. And I can't quite remember what joined the two of them that they were selling. But anyway, so I had a good rifle through the boxes of patterns because I don't need any more. I found Nikki's Creations, Christmas bells. Love these, really simple, rustic. Don't look particularly smartly finished, which is my sort of finishing. So yeah, so hopefully I'll get those done for Christmas. I picked up this kit, which is a spring hair pocket pin keep, and it's Island Cottage Needle Arts. So I've got sort of various pieces of felt and things to do him with, and the template to cut him out with. I don't have many spring Eastery smalls or projects, and I would like some more. And what I'd really like, if you could tell me what they're called, it'd be hugely helpful. You get those two rabbits. They're stuffed rabbits with cross stitch on one side of them, ribbon and a bell around them. And I can't for the life of me remember who the designer is or what the actual charts are called. And the problem is I see them every spring, think, oh, I really, really want those. And of course they've all sold out because everyone really wants to do them and it's springtime. And I keep on thinking, oh, during the autumn or, you know, some later on, I'll buy those charts. And stitch them up. So I've got them and I can't remember what they're called. Can't remember who designed them. So if anybody knows what I mean, stuffed rabbits, cross stitching down one side, bell and ribbon around the necks. I think it's a boy and a girl rabbit, but you know. So yeah, if anyone knows, please put it in the comments below. It'd be really helpful so that I don't next spring go, oh, they're all sold out again. Now the next one I picked up is a sampler that I absolutely love, but I don't really know how much. So it's called Jessie Lambert, and it's a pattern by Philippa Sims, based on an original sampler in the collections of Norfolk Museums and Archaeology Service. It's a 19th century band sampler from the Carrow House collection. And yeah, I've no idea other than that. It was just one of those random charts, so I picked it up. I love this. It's quite small. I think it's like 120 by 140 or something. It's not huge. Love the windmill, the camel, randomly. Not sure you see many of those in Norfolk. Yeah, just love it all. No alphabet, which is always a winner for me. Smallish houses, which again is another winner for me. So yeah, so that's really sweet, but I wouldn't know, I need to look it up actually. So whether you put in Norfolk Museums and Archaeology Service into Google, that might take you somewhere, or whether you put in Carrow House Collection, that might take you somewhere. I don't know if there's more, I don't know anything about them other than I've bought that chart. And finally, the fourth chart I picked up at the weekend was another Brenda Keys, because you can never have too many Brenda Key charts as far as I'm concerned. Love them. I need to get some more. Well, yeah, I do. I need to get some more. I just think I've just got one, but you know, I could always have some more. And this is the New England sampler. And there we go. It's another nautical, sea, octopuses, mermaids, lovely colours. So yes, at some point I will get around to starting that one as well. So that's those four charts I bought at the retreat, as I said. The other bits are just, you know, sort of things throughout. I've been sort of occasionally seeing things, not buying huge amounts, but occasionally seeing things. Plans. Plans are changing. One of the main plans I have is I'm going to start, oh good Lord, I have to pick the chart up, The Christmas Witch by Kathy Barrick. Now we are starting this on October the 31st this year. I've had this for a while. I know Steve from Crafty Stitchers has had this for a while, and then Welly Stitcher, Elaine, suddenly showed it a couple of months ago or a month or so ago on her Flosstube. And so I messaged her and said, oh, you know, I'll start it if you start it. And I also said, I think Steve's got it. Should we ask if he wants to join us? So I sent Steve a message. His arm doesn't take much twisting, is all I'm going to say. I don't think I'd barely pressed send on, you know, Elaine and I are starting this. We know you've got the chart. Would you like to join us? Yep. When are we starting it? I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, you're quite keen. That's fab. So I think we're going to start it on the 31st of October. We haven't got a hashtag for it yet. If you've got the chart and you'd like to join us, then please do. Whether we actually end up, yeah, we all try and get a hashtag sorted, but, you know, we'll see. So I'm starting that, as I said, with Elaine, Welly Stitcher, and Steve, who is Steve and Heather of Crafty Stitchers. So yeah, and then other than that, my plans, my plans, I want to do more quilting. I want to do more crafting, as in knitting, crochet, ornaments, things like that. And at the moment, I tend to always sit down and do cross stitch just because it's nice and easy and it's all there next to my seat, and blah, blah, blah. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to restrict myself slightly. I'm going to only have one cross stitch project per time. I'm not going to put a time limit on it, so one per week or what have you. I'm just going to pick a project to work on until I'm bored of it, or I've finished it, or I've got a significant section of it done. And then the other times when I would sort of tend to gravitate towards cross stitching, I mean, I'm up at 6, I have a cup of tea, and I tend to sit and stitch for half an hour or so. Again, after lunch, have a cup of tea, sit and stitch for half an hour or so whilst I'm having that cup of tea. I will try to work on my other projects instead, because I'd really like to get some of those done, particularly the quilting. And, you know, whereas if we have sort of supper at 6 or what have you, and I'm sat down by 7, I'm not going to start cross-stitching till sort of 8:30. I don't go to bed till 11, so it still gives me a good 2.5, 3 hours. So yes, do something else, whether it's quilting or not. So next month when I come back, I might only have a few projects to show you. I might only have one project to show you, but an awful lot of progress on it. It will probably be a shorter video. If they get really quiet, I will do a quilting video at the end of October and a crafting video at the end of October. Those will be reasonably long because even though I've been overly productive, I have been purchasing quite a lot still. So after then, if they're all getting, you know, if I'm trying to do them monthly and it gets to the point where I've only got a few pieces of each to show, I might well amalgamate the tubes again. I will put a timestamp in because I do appreciate some people don't want to see quilting. I won't mix it all up, so I will do it in the segments and I'll put the timestamp in, and you'll just have to jump about if you don't want to see certain things. And if you really can't bear it, then, you know, I'm terribly sorry, but there are thousands of other fantastic Flosstubers to go and watch. You'll just have to go and watch them. But I genuinely don't know. I don't know how productive I am or am not going to be. So it's going to be a bit up in the air what happens. Next weekend, so it's Monday today, so this Friday, I am off to Stitch in London, which is a retreat being organised by Marie of Stitches and Diamonds. I think it's in a Holiday Inn at Watford. Did get a bit confused because I'm going to say my sister who lives down in that area, and I said, oh, I'm going to Watford Gap. And she says, yeah, we don't live anywhere near Watford. Not Watford Gap's up north, but it's Watford, north of London. I'm going for the Friday and Saturday. Hopefully my mate Chris is going to make it for the Saturday, so finally get to meet her. I finally hunted her down, worn her down. She can't run any further. She's going to have to do the inevitable and meet me and talk to me. So if any of you watching are going, please do let me know. If you do go and you see me, please come and say hello. I'm fairly useless at things like that. I'm not from a sort of, you know, shy point of view, but I will just stare at you blankly for a couple of minutes thinking, I know who you are, but I don't really know who you are. So please do come and say hello. I'd love to meet more people. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to go and finish the small that I'm making for that, and then no doubt watch another video of somebody making exactly the same small, much better than I'm making it. Yeah, and go and start getting some quilting fabric out and do some quilting. So I hope you have a fab October. I hope you enjoy all the autumnal colour, weather, food, drinks, and all the rest of it. I will be back at some point in the beginning of November. Take care. Bye.